I'm Sarah from Scotty's Little Soldiers. Being a military charity that supports bereaved forces children, being part of the military community is really important to us, as it is for Ben Garwood. And we're here in Hereford at HR4K, and just wanted to find a bit more about sort of your background and what you do. So if you could start off by telling me about joining the army many years ago,
sure.
and how that all started.
So I joined in 1997. I joined the parachute regiment and I got into 2 para. I did a few years and I transferred at the end of the 90s to the REME. It was a bit quiet in those days, not a lot was going on, so I transferred across. And as I transferred, everything seemed to be kicking off. So I transferred back again, back to Para Reg, back to the same platoon, same battalion as I left before. I got a load of stick from all the lads that I'd rejoined back up with. And then I got a load of stick from the lads I left, so I couldn't really win either way. Then I went on a couple of tours. I joined the Pathfinders, and then in my last sort of 10 years in the army, I joined the SAS, and I've settled here in Hereford since then.
Wow. And what was it like being part of that? I mean, lots of people talk about it sort of being like being part of a brotherhood. Did you kind of find that with the people that you're serving alongside you? You must sort of really have a strong bond and a strong relationship.
Well, so I came from units that the regiment has always predominantly recruited from. So Parachute Regiment and the Pathfinders, and actually a lot of lads I joined up with on my selection also came from the Pathfinders as well. So I knew a lot of the lads, and then the next few intakes were all the same guys I'd served with through PF or in the Parachute Regiment as well. And I think because I joined the regiment quite late, I knew a lot of people from my peer group who were then coming into the regiment from various courses that I'd been on. So I was in a very lucky position. Strangely though, I was sort of then starting back at the start. So I'd sort of already got to sergeant before I left the regular army. And then you join the regiment, you go back to the start. You go back to number 1, number 2 on the T-urns. You know, you're doing all the shit jobs, but the shit jobs need doing. But the shit jobs at our place is a bit different to anywhere else. Yes, you know, you're emptying bins and carrying T-urns and doing the lunch run and doing all the other bits and pieces. But then you're also involved in multi-million, multinational, multi-agency operations. So the variation on shit jobs is a bit different to shit jobs back in the regular army. So yeah, it was good. And actually, one of the lads I was with the Pathfinders, and then I joined the regiment with, was actually his family were involved with Scotty's Little Soldiers, and that was who unfortunately was killed in Afghanistan. Yeah, his daughter was only 6 weeks old when he died, and Scotty's Little Soldiers then supported his daughter after that. And a lot of the girls rallied around and did a big fundraiser. And that's where I got to know about Scotty's Little Soldiers off the back of the fundraiser, and then the work and support that Scotty's Little Soldiers did for and his family.
What does it mean to you to know that there's a charity out there that can support the children of people that you serve with, and obviously you've got that personal relationship there, and it must have been really hard for you losing. And does it mean a lot to you to know that Scotty's is there to support?
Yes, massively. It's a massive reassurance knowing that there's people out there that are looking after our loved ones if there was anything ever to happen to us. It's reassurance that there's someone actually cares and there's something out there for those individuals. You know, I think it makes you feel very lucky for the rest of us, but also it also gives us that warm fuzzy knowing that there is that support. I think if he knew that, I think he'd be over the moon. I think not just the fact that the support for his daughter, but there's also the amount of work that went behind that to organise the event and the fundraiser. So with his widow and her friends, and that's also keeping his memory alive and making it important as well.
What was the particular event and fundraiser for them?
My wife was actually involved in it as well, so they went up Kilimanjaro.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and they had Prince William supported it. Yeah, there's some really good companies also got on the back of that, which is amazing to support it. Quite difficult for the girls. It was quite a long way out. So it was 2 years. That's 2 years of Scotty's Little Soldiers being the forefront of everything that they were doing in their lives. And I think the girls found it quite difficult. I think it's harder than they anticipated.
Do you think it helps giving them something to focus on?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think for his widow, she was then surrounded by like-minded people. Certainly, she was surrounded by other wives who'd served with. Actually, she was surrounded by wives who'd served on that tour and were there when he passed away as well. So, I think that probably helped with her bereavement. Obviously, his daughter wasn't involved in that. She was far too young to be involved in that. But at least the thoughts on her were at the forefront, which was amazing. It was quite funny actually for Katie, my wife, training for Scotty's Little Soldiers. Now, I'm an ex-paratrooper, ex-pathfinder, and at the time I was SAS. We said, okay, let's go shopping. Let's go look for some boots. Get the right sort of boots. So we went to one of the walk-in shops, and we're in there. It was one of these sort of quite commercial sort of go outdoors type shops. And we're in there. Said, right, what sort of boots should we get? She goes, oh, I don't know. Maybe we should just ask for some advice off the guy in the shop. I was like, I'm ex-paratrooper, ex-pathfinder. I said, okay, I'll tell you what. Let's get the boots that we use at work, and they sell them there, and we'll get the ladies' version of that boot, because I know they're good boots. We get issued them. They're great boots, and etc. She goes, well, I don't know. I still think we should get some advice. I said, all right.
Your advice wasn't good enough.
No, because obviously it's for me. It's my wife who lives with an SAS guy all the time. She doesn't really care what comes out of my mouth, you know. So she rings the bell. This kid, 18-year-old, spotty little creature, comes out. You know, looked like he really couldn't give a shit whatsoever. And he comes out and she said, excuse me, I'm just after some advice. What sort of boots? I'm going up Kilimanjaro. I give her the whole spiel, everything else she's doing. And he went, well, the ones you got in your hand are all right. And I was like, she was like, oh, I'll take them then.
Did she listen to his advice?
Yeah, I'll take them then. I was just like, oh my God, woman. You know.
And what were they like? Was she
all
right in them?
Yeah, she was all right in them. But I should have put a stone in there just before she went off or something, you know, just to kind of. But yeah, it was great. Scotty's Little Soldiers, I think since then, obviously I've got to know Stu.
So Stuart's our CEO.
Yeah. And he's been brilliant, massive supporter of HR4K and likewise us with them. I think we got the record at one point for the amount of money collected in one of the tins.
How much did you collect?
I think just short of £100 in one of those little tins, which is amazing.
It all makes such a difference.
Yeah. I mean, we know where the money's going to. That's what we like about it, and that's why. I mean, it's a very honest, transparent charity. You know where the money's going to. You can see the results of what that's happening. And then I know Stu as well from doing like the Spartan races.
Yes, Stuart was telling me about this because he's done loads of Spartan races, but he said the one he did with the HR4K team was one of his favourites. Yeah,
he's been training a lot for the Spartan races, so he sees himself as a bit of a ringer. So you end up turning up, it's like, yeah, you know, he's on his stand doing bits and pieces, but really he's out the back, stretching off. So me and my associates, one of the doctors who used to be at Hereford, he did some of the med support at Spartan races. We've got a girl called Catherine, who's also one of the girls who's involved in Spartan races, and my business partner. And we all got together and helped a triple amputee go around the event, and Stu came along and helped us around. And it was really good to kind of build that confidence in someone that they can do other stuff. And I think for Stu, it was probably a really good thing for him to see other work that's going on around what Spartan races can also do, how other work is also involved in sort of supporting veterans and other people we've been involved in. But yeah, it was good. Yeah, really helpful. I think we all took it in turns just to carry me, probably, mostly. No, it's good.
What was it like for you, obviously, when you were serving, when you were still in the army, and you've got kids yourself?
Yeah.
What was that like for you being away from them? And you must have had moments where you feared for your life and what the repercussions would be for them. That must have been tough for you.
I think my kids were really young. You know, they were the same age as kids
Yeah.
at the time. Sounds quite bad, but I think I was very excited about being in the regiment then. Slightly selfish, if I'll be honest with you. I was enjoying it. I was having a good time. It was something I've always wanted to do since I was 6 years old. Also, my kids were at that age where, as much as you want to protect them and be involved with them, a lot of that was sort of taken up by sort of Katie and my wife. She was involved in the kids. Me at the time was really just trying to get into a new job, do everything I needed to do. I think as the kids sort of grew more of a personality, I became more and more attached to the kids. I think that might be a man thing. I don't know. You know, I think the more I bonded with my kids, the more does that make sense?
Yeah. I think often the baby stages, the mums are more involved, and then the dads kind of get more involved as they get older.
Yeah,
in a lot
as
of
you
cases.
can actually do stuff with them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it was the back end of the second tour that when I came back and my kids come running out the door with their arms up, you know, to greet me. That's where I absolutely melted. But was I worried about me? I think going back to just knowing that there's such a great support network out there, that really gives you the sort of confidence to get on with your own job. You know, it gives you the confidence just to get on and know that actually they're going to be looked after. You've got a job to do and just sort of crack on with the job. I think I'd like to carry on building the relationship that we have with Scottish Little Soldiers. We have the tins here in the shop. We work alongside them at some of the events, and all the events we do, we always invite Scottish Little Soldiers as well. They're a great charity, and I think they're certainly a charity that the regiment has embraced as well.
Yeah, and that really means a lot to us. And you know, obviously, we do everything we can to support these children. They really need it. But actually, remaining part of that military community is also really important for a lot of the families that we support, because some of the feedback we get is that obviously once their heroes passed away, that family don't always have that same connection with the military community.
No, you're right.
And so it is very important. We've had a campaign recently called Reconnect, which is encouraging military personnel to stay in touch with bereaved families. And actually, I was interested to talk to you because I know the military community is really, really important to you. And in fact, I wanted to ask you about HR4K, which you set up, which is your business, and that's where we are today. So tell me a bit about sort of the idea behind it and how it came about, and actually what HR4K is.
That point you raised by sort of linking sort of the military to the bereaved, I think for a lot of people when they leave the military, they feel slightly dislocated. I think there's also a case of a lot of them go back to their families where their family lives. So certainly maybe for some of the wives that were affected by where they've lost their husbands, they go back to their safe space, and their safe space isn't necessarily the garrison town where their husband was based.
Yeah, that happens a lot. Often they'll go back to where they grew up, where they've got family, and they need that support.
So, I mean, that support is going to be greater than it is in the garrison towns. And also in the garrison towns, a lot of those people are moving around a lot. So a lot of the other spouses that they were connected to may have got posted on and kind of leave. Likewise, you know, for guys who are leaving the military, once you've left your unit and you no longer have that sort of warm fuzzy around you of your mates and your camaraderie, you're now in the big wide world where your life doesn't revolve around everyone else's lives either. I think HR4K is one of those places where it's a community where it does allow people of a like-minded ilk to sort of come back and come to the events and be involved in what we do. It's one of those places that's not just for veterans, it's also for people in the community. So I think for the spouses, I think for the kids of veterans and also veterans themselves, it's a chance to come or a place to come to where they can be with like-minded people who aren't necessarily from a military background but share a very similar ethos.
Yeah.
And that ethos is, you know, family, community, contribution, etc., etc. I think that's what HR4K is about. It's about those people who have a good sense of values, and you can be with like-minded people. I think certainly for people who've been disconnected from the military, either from leaving or from something's happened with the family. I think HR4K is a place where people can find themselves being reconnected. I mean, it's amazing, some of the stuff that we've had here. We've had people give each other jobs. We've had people who've met up and not seen each other for years and years and years have come here. I think it spans across generations of people. So, you know, anyone who's still serving or even people within the community who are younger, up to, you know, your sort of retired ages. They can all still come here, and there's going to be things that they all have in common, whether it's music, motorbikes, whatever. Just this is just a community kind of business, if you like.
And what can people expect? Obviously, people that haven't been here, you might be able to see obviously we're sitting here now, but what's actually here? What can people expect if they come over to HR4K in Hereford?
So we originally started off in my garage selling T-shirts and coffee out of my garage on the Pads estate about near 4 years ago. And we wanted to build a business that was about selling veteran-owned brands. For me, the veteran brands that I saw and I liked were the stuff that we were involved with our American cousins, also from special forces backgrounds. And so I thought there's a market there for this sort of stuff, so I started selling that. What we found, though, is that we couldn't really just be online, because online we're now competing with everyone else. So we created this place, and this place became a bit of a community hub, which then opened the doors to a lot of British veterans or even serving British personnel who had their own businesses or were starting up their own businesses. So we started introducing British brands as well into this as well. So not only just American brands that we were selling, we were also selling British brands. And then with that, we wanted some substance and that go back to the word ethos around the business. So that's why we started creating the events. We did bikes, booze, burgers and tattoos. We've done Oktoberfests, and that's about the rural community. So we want to get the rural community involved in what we're doing with HR4K, and HR4K involved with the rural community. And we think instead of just sort of working on looking after veterans, what we should be doing is looking after the community, because veterans are part of the community, and integrating the veterans into the community, rather than veterans feeling either isolated, or some veterans, as we all know, can feel a little bit like the world owes them a debt, which I don't think necessarily is the case. I think it's about people having to meet halfway and then get themselves back in the community in some form.
I know you've been working with lots of charities as well to support veterans. I was listening to your podcast, and I know that you've been encouraging charities to help. There was like gym memberships.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So a couple of things we're doing at the moment is we're encouraging charities to pay the gym memberships for their beneficiaries. We started off doing a rehabilitation stuff here in Hereford. We couldn't sustain that just because there wasn't the flow of people in Hereford that we could use for it. So we then reached out to other box owners and gym owners and other sort of institutions that have some form of training or physical training. And we said, why don't you take on the beneficiaries of charities? And what that does is the charities essentially pay the gym memberships that now support small businesses, and at the same time as supporting small businesses, it's getting their beneficiaries out of their houses and into the community and mixing. We're opening another HR4K in Amesbury, a 10,000 square foot purpose-built CrossFit gym in the new super garrison of the MOD. Wow. It's got about 22,000 troops plus families. So we've got a CrossFit gym there, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu gym there. So that's going to be pretty awesome. Wow. And then a big coffee shop and everything else like that.
So you only actually left the army about a month ago.
Yeah.
So how have you managed to fit all this in? And is this keeping you... This must be kind of keeping you occupied. Well, is it difficult leaving the army?
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be honest, you know, I think I've got a good team. You know, I've got Stacey, I've got Cy, David, and my wife, and loads of other people involved. I've got just taken on with 2 new partners, Rob and Owen down in Amesbury. So it's about finding a really good network of people who believe in the same sort of things as we do, and want to create something.
But has doing this given you a focus? Because I know a lot of people come out of the army, for example, and then feel a bit lost and aren't sure what to do next. But having this, has that given you a real focus?
So I don't know. I made, obviously, we spoke with Hugh before about the analogy of tradesman and craftsman. And the idea was that some people are tradesmen, and they're the people who are very good at sort of doing as they're told and follow the template. Often those people, when they leave institutions like the military, they feel very lost because they don't have that institution around them. They're institutionalized. Then there are craftsmen. The craftsmen are the sort of people who want to create and build something and need to be active all the time, often have elaborate hobbies or whatever else they need. For me, my hobby while I was my last few years in the regiment was to create a business. And it was to use all the networks and all the people we meet within Special Forces to create something that I wanted. And what I wanted to do was create a business that was a community business like HR4K. I wanted to create something where we could be involved and we could do cool things and enjoy it. So my transition started four years ago. We've got another place we're opening up in London, or we've just opened up in London as well, HR4K in London, in Wandsworth. Again, that's being run by a veteran as well, who's running that for us. We've just brought in another veteran to work on the weekends down here. The lads who are running the Ainsworth piece are veterans as well. So, and we intend to employ spouses as well as veterans into some of these workplaces. We want to support the transition of other veterans. So when we do our Veterans Business Days, we encourage people with their own businesses or their own business ideas to come down and then learn from everyone else, and hopefully that will support their transition. So when they do leave, they don't feel lost.
That support.
Yeah, you know. And whether that business is successful or not, it's about trying to do something or be proactive before you leave, rather than just doing exactly as you're told up until the day you leave, and then they won't go off. I mean, officers historically have always, have had a second income or had a second trade. It's never been frowned upon for officers to have something on the side and then walk into a job. It's never been frowned on for officers to use their military experiences as part of their CVs to get into jobs when they leave. So why should it be any different for ORs? So I would encourage ORs to kind of look at their transition early. Come to our Veterans Business Day and then learn from other people.
I think it's an absolutely brilliant idea, and it sounds like you're really enjoying it. Yeah.
Every day's a bit. It's different. I think it's just because it's so polar. It's so polar from what I've ever done before. Kicking doors into, I don't know, making coffee and selling T-shirts and networking and enjoying the company of others it's just so polar from what I've ever done before, and I look forward to it. I'm embracing it at the moment. It's good.
So how did you come up with the name HR4K?
We had to come up with a name just to start the ball rolling, and we probably weren't necessarily mega original by coming up using our postcode, but actually our postcode is also a bit of an anagram of the speed at which a Special Forces guy goes over the Brecon Beacons. So HR4K is actually an anagram of 4 kilometres an hour. And obviously it's also the postcode for this location as well.
Oh, that's good.
Kind of worked, and we're just kind of rolling with it, really.
Oh, thanks so much for talking to us today.
Very welcome.
It's been really lovely to meet you, and thanks for your support for Scotty's Little Soldiers. It really means a lot to us. And if you want to find out more about HR4K, you can follow them on social media. And the same with Scotty's Little Soldiers. There's a lot more information about us on our website, or again, follow us on social media. Thank you.